You want a brother?
Hello, I have a bit of a surprise today. We are adopting an ex-racing greyhound. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited for you to meet him. And I don't have too much time because I think he's on his way. Before I go through the whole adoption process, please enjoy some, oh, she's barking already. She can hear me talking. She knows what's coming. Enjoy some footage of them hopefully romping around in the garden while I'm signing some adoption paperwork.
There's no space to put it.
Oh no. Should we move the coffee table?
Sure.
he stepped right over her. Hi again. So there actually wasn't a whole lot of footage of the dogs meeting in the garden again because it's just a bit of a stressful time. You have to keep quite a close eye on them. So I just thought, out of respect for, oh, hello? Sorry. Finch is behind me and Lenny is actually right next to me. He's taken a little snooze. I'm sure he'll get up and move to his bed at some point, which is why I've positioned the camera the way I have. But yeah, I felt like out of respect for the couple of people who were there from the adoption agency, out of respect for Lenny, and out of respect for Finch, I just decided that it wasn't a good idea to film while they were there. But the meeting went great. They had a little play around. It was very sweet, and so they scheduled for us to pick him up. Well, actually, it's COVID, so for him to be dropped off. So he's here now. He's a very sweet boy, and he's settling in quite nicely, considering. He's settling in quite nicely, considering where he came from. So let me give you a little bit of history on Lenny, or at least what we know about him. He was brought to our local shelter as a stray from Northern Ireland, so he was just found and picked up, and he went unclaimed for a while. So they got him neutered, and then they put him up for adoption. And before he came to us, he actually had a family for about a week, but it was not a good fit for his previous family, so he was returned to the shelter. Reasons for that were they stated that he just didn't fit their lifestyle and that he was quite stubborn in going on walks, and they didn't like that he would stop at every storefront, which he does for us. He's getting better at it, but he still does like to stop and say, "Hey, can I go in there?" And he's just a very curious boy, and I'm pretty sure he's not really been out in public much, so he just needs a bit of acclimation, desensitization, and that stuff. And then they also said that he would cry every time they would leave. And that's true. Lenny has pretty bad separation anxiety. We have not left him alone yet. I felt that it would be inappropriate to leave him alone before he's had a couple weeks to acclimate, but we do need to go grocery shopping, so occasionally Jack or myself will leave for between 20 minutes to an hour at a time. And he barks and cries, and it's a very different bark to his play bark. He'll kind of snap his teeth a little bit and then look up at the sky and then bark in a very shrill bark. It's very, very characteristic of separation anxiety. But we ignore him, and he's getting a bit better. I was able to go pick something up from the post office the other day, and he apparently only cried for 2 minutes. The first time I left, he cried for 15, 20 minutes, I think, so he's making some progress. Another way to deal with that is something called, I think, counter-conditioning behavioral training, something like that. But it's basically where you teach him to stay, and you teach him to get used to stimuli associated with leaving. That's the first step. So, for example, we'll go put our shoes on and then not go anywhere. Because normally when you put your shoes on, he'll start getting stressed, he'll start panting, he'll follow you everywhere. So we've already started that process a bit. We'll just put our shoes on like 10 times a day to get him used to that. And then the next step is getting him used to doors being closed. So he currently doesn't even like it if you leave him in the living room, shut the door, which is right there, and then go into the kitchen and cook dinner, which he's very tall, so he can very easily stick his nose on the counter, and he responds well to us gently pushing his face away or telling him no, but he's definitely a glutton, and he would eat if we left him in the kitchen. So we tried at some point having him be in the living room with Finch, of course, to give him a bit more comfort, and he still cried. So the next step in our separation anxiety training is going to be getting him used to just shutting the door and then opening the door, giving him a treat. And as long as he has stayed where he is, he gets a treat. The second we brought him into the close, which is like the common area for the apartments, for the flats, we're up a couple flights of stairs. So we got to the base of the steps and he just froze. And it was as if he'd never seen stairs before, which is possible. But the adopting agency did ask me what floor you're on, and I told them I'm up a couple flights of stairs. And they didn't note anything, so I'm not sure if they were aware of whether or not he had seen stairs before, but I'm guessing the first time was with us. So it was very difficult getting him up the first time. It was literally Jack grabs the 2 front feet, I grab the 2 back feet, and we kind of support him up the steps to teach him that you just gotta walk up them. So that was fun. After 4 days, he's just going up and down the stairs. He still needs a bit of encouragement. They still make him a bit nervous, but we have a short lead for his harness, which goes around the seatbelt in the car for if he ever needs to go to car journeys. So it's nice and short, so you can just hold it. And he's up to my waist, so I can just hold it next to me, give him a bit of support for his weight, because he'll stumble occasionally, so I don't want him to fall and be more fearful. But other than that, I give him a bit of support. He goes down, he comes up. It only takes about a minute for him to get up and down now. So I'm very impressed with his progress so far. Like, so impressed. I think one of the reasons why he's making such quick progress is because he's a baby. I think he's quite young. We looked at his X-racing tattoos in his ears, and it appears that, according to the Irish code, that he was born in 2019. He could be as young as barely a year old right now. And we're not sure. He could be 2, but based on how soft he is and based on how not fearful he is of new situations and how with just a bit of encouragement he gets pretty acclimated, I would say he's quite young. So I think we lucked out because I think we get to have him for a long, long time. Younger dogs tend to be a bit more malleable when it comes to learning and new experiences, so once the separation anxiety is sorted, I think he's going to be a fantastic member of society. I'm very excited about it. Another thing that helps his confidence is, I don't know if you remembered, but I mentioned before that his previous family was upset that he was quite stubborn on walks because he wants to stop at every storefront, he wants to stop and say hello to everybody who walks by, and he wants to sniff and say hello to every dog that walks by. Which, for some dogs, it's quite scary because he's an ex-racing greyhound, so we had to sign paperwork stating that he would be on lead and on muzzle in public at all times. It's just better to have him muzzled than to have him potentially harm another animal. So for other dogs at the park, it can be quite scary because they've never seen a dog on muzzle before. But he's so good, and if they're upset by the fact that he's wearing a muzzle, he just goes, "Oh, sorry," and then he just gets on with his day. I understand where his old family was coming from, but luckily for me, I have Finch. So the first question that I actually asked the adoption agency when they called for the pre-adoption talk and said, by the way, his name was Nicholas. They said, by the way, Nicholas has been known to have quite severe separation anxiety, and he can't even be left alone for, 2 minutes before he starts having a reaction. My first question was, has he ever been housed with another dog? Because a lot of the times, dogs, once they establish a pack, separation anxiety can get a lot better. Finch actually had separation anxiety. Hi? Did you hear me say your name? Finch actually had separation anxiety when I got her, and I was able to work her through it. So I was quite confident. I said, you know what? I can do it. So I'll give you an update once we've sorted more of that out. And Finch is an absolute blessing for Lenny. She brings out more confidence in him. So when he was first learning how to do the steps, the day after we got him, or when he went down to go to the bathroom the day we did get him before bed, she would go down the steps and then he would hesitate, but then he'd kind of see that Jack and Finch were ahead of him, and he went for it, and he was able to figure it out that way. Also, if she leaves the room, he follows her. It's quite cute. He does that for us as well, but that's quite typical of a dog with separation anxiety. One of the other blessings about having Finch is that on walks, he just follows her. So if he goes to greet someone and they ignore him, what he'll do is he'll kind of freeze, and then he'll kind of look, and he'll just say, well, I wanted to say hello to that person. I'm going to stand here until they come say hello to me. And I have to go, well, we're going on a walk right now. So I give him a bit of a tug on the lead, and then he won't go. But if Finch goes, he'll just follow her. So having Finch as a companion for him is wonderful. Another way that we know that he's improving already is the sleeping arrangements. So when we first had him in the home, we had to leave our bedroom door open because he obviously does not do well with barriers. What we did was we put his bed in front of the bedroom door so that if he wanted to, he could stick his head in the door and know that we're still there. I didn't put the bed in the room because just as a rule, I don't like having dogs sleep in my room. I'm a very light sleeper, and if they get up and walk around, I'm up. I can't have dogs sleeping in my room. Finch is currently sleeping in my room because I don't want them to be unsupervised together for extended periods of time, and that's just for Finch's and Lenny's safety. It's just a good idea that until two dogs are bonded, to not leave them together unsupervised. But I don't want Lenny to get used to sleeping in the room because that would just worsen his separation anxiety if I gave in to every whim. The first night, he slept in the hallway with his head half in the room, and it was sweet because he just wants to be near us, and he's probably just worried about being abandoned, so I felt bad for him, so I put his bed half in the room and half in the hallway. But on the second night, we actually got a baby gate, put the baby gate up the second day we had him, and that night, I still put his bed right outside the baby gate so that if he wanted to see us, he could. And he actually chose to sleep on the sofa. I was very impressed. I was like, wow, night 2 and you're already confident enough to go to bed in the living room. Granted, all of the doors in the flat were open. It's not like he had a breakthrough moment, but he was confident enough to sleep in the living room. Hi, Finch, what you doing? Anyway, so I'm very impressed with him so far. Speaking of Finch's basket, he actually tried to get in her basket yesterday. It was quite hilarious. She walked over and said, I don't think so. Get out of my basket. Which is fair. She's allowed to tell him, hey, that's my bed. You have your bed. Leave my bed alone. And he doesn't fit in the basket. So, I'm sorry, but Finch is perfection. Hi, how are you? She's so cute. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this very short video about my rescue greyhound is why we decided to adopt. So I have wanted a second dog for a while, and that's mostly because I've had friends who foster dogs here. They've since moved back to America, but for a while they were fostering dogs, and Finch adored whenever there was a male. She doesn't like female dogs very well, but she was always really happy when there was a male foster dog to play with. And I occasionally need to leave her alone for between 3 and 4 hours at a time, and I would just like her to have a companion. Additionally, this is my personal opinion, but having 2 dogs is very similar to having 1 dog. They have to go out at the same time, they have to eat at the same time, they need exercise, and they can exercise together. So to me, the only difference was any behavior issues that I would need to address, which takes a lot of time. Rescue dogs take a lot of time, but they are also one of the most, if not the most rewarding experiences I have ever had in my entire life, because they have so much love to give. And once you sort through anxiety, or you sort through fear-related aggression, or you sort through, it could be something as simple as potty training. Once they figure it out and you see that they're learning and that they're understanding and that they understand where they belong in their family, it's just an incredible feeling, and it's very, very rewarding. I get a lot of fulfillment out of raising rescue dogs, so that's another reason for me. And I saw that the shelters were under an increased amount of stress, and I wanted to take a bit of pressure off of the shelter system, so I thought, you know what, I've wanted a rescue for a while. Finch is obviously a rescue, but I've wanted a second rescue for a while. Now is as good a time as any it's time to pull the trigger and go for it. And then we found him, and Finch adores sighthounds. It's why I think she's part sighthound, is because she really only tends to get along with sighthounds. She loves playing with lurchers and whippets and greyhounds at the park. So I was like, I saw him up for adoption, so I inquired about him, and then they mentioned that his last family was unable to handle him for more than a week, and I said, you know what? Send him over. Let's have him meet Finch. I'll give him a better chance than that. It's getting really bright, and I'm not wearing any makeup, and this is gonna expose everything. No, leave me alone, stop. This is Lenny. He lives with us now. He's our baby boy, and he's got a lot of learning to do, but I believe in him. Oh, big stretches. Wow. I will keep you updated either on Instagram or I'll make another video if you guys want to see another video. Most of you said, yes, please make a video about your new greyhound, and I was like, yes. This is the content that I want to make. So I'm glad that you wanted to meet him. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.